Welcome to the OK Not OK podcast. I am Dr. OK, and today is our occasionally occurring edition of the OK Not OK podcast with Attitude Adjustment. And today we are checking in on DIY's attitude adjustment from last week, and we will determine at the end whether this change was okay or not okay. Now we have to start and think back here. Something must be in the Prime Energy drink that the WWE is handing out to their tag teams this year, as it seems like all of them just start adjusting their attitudes to become more vicious. And we'll start by pointing out that early in the year, Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano's wife, started it off with her own more devious side, and she in turn got Indi Hartwell to follow her. Then later in the year, The Miz totally broke up the Awesome Truth, which may have been a lot of it dealing with Karrion Kross putting poison into his ear, but maybe he just felt like it as well, because The Miz just can't help himself. And then more recently, we talked about The New Day turning their back on Big E just a week ago, and we talked about that in depth on the OK Question of the Week. So if you missed that one, make sure to go back and check it out. And we'll even note that the Street Profits have been a lot more serious recently than they usually are, and they've gotten involved here in this MCMG and DIY confrontation as well. So there is just a lot going on here. But speaking of the Profits, well, I guess you can say that they were beaten to the punch here by DIY, because it was Ford and Dawkins who were supposed to have the tag team title match just last week on SmackDown, but somebody was able to find them backstage and beat them up, which caused them to have to give up their match. And then Johnny Gargano convinced Nick Aldis and the Machine Guns to give them a shot instead. So let's go back first and set the scene here for what we've seen from DIY recently. Well, it was Tommaso Ciampa who started up having a different attitude, as he's now been upset for weeks. And it started off when he just took matters into his own hands and destroyed Pretty Deadly 2-on-1 in a tag team match way back on November 8th. Then the following week, it was the Street Profits who got a title shot against the Machine Guns, but Ciampa did not take that well, as he forced a disqualification by attacking the Profits during the match, and then of course a fight ensued from there. But that was not all, so they had a match the following week between Ciampa and Montez Ford, and after Ford scored a roll-up victory, Ciampa was not going to take that lying down. He attacked Ford from behind, and a brawl ensued, with Gargano having to run out from the back to help to try to break things up. But Ciampa was not happy with Johnny's involvement there, and he pushed him to the mat, which forced the Machine Guns to come out and rescue Gargano from his own partner. And that led to our Black Friday edition of SmackDown, where Ciampa had his full Black Heart persona in effect, as he told Gargano that he wanted to do it his way, and he was giving Gargano just 1 week to fix things. So that takes us to last week, where we saw the Street Profits were injured backstage. Then Gargano convinced Aldis and the Machine Guns for that title shot, and then it looked like it was going to be more of the same between DIY, as Ciampa and Gargano were arguing throughout the entire match, and they even pushed each other, so it looked like they were surely breaking up, as Ciampa even said so and grabbed a steel chair to put an end to Gargano. And just as that was happening, Johnny decided to turn the tables, hit Sabin with a low blow and a super kick on Shelley, before DIY met in the middle to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions. So I guess the conclusion is that it worked, but will it keep working? Well, for that, let's actually go back to where we started and talk about Candice LeRae, Johnny Wrestling's wife. So back in March, Candice won 2 straight matches for she and Indi Hartwell by using some underhanded tactics, but Indi didn't seem to be on board with what Candice was doing. So then Indi lost them a tag team match by refusing to follow Candice's ways, which is pretty embarrassing when that loss is to Maxine Dupree. And then the following week, which happened to be the Raw after WrestleMania, she lost to NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez by again not taking Candice's advice. So only then in the following week, they had another tag team match against Ivy Now and Maxine, and this time Ivy kicked Maxine while the ref was not looking and placed Candice on top of Maxine to get the win. So it looked like Candice had finally gotten through to Indi and things were on their way to better days. And sure enough, Candice scored another win against Maxine in one-on-one action because she got help from Indi. So I guess that was good. But after that, well, I guess things all turned around because they got drafted to SmackDown and they then proceeded to lose all of their singles and tag matches, with Indi going 0-1, Candice going 0-2, and both of them together went 0-3 in tag matches, including a title loss to Jade and Bianca. And in fact, all of those losses put together in quick succession led to them missing action for 3 straight months. And only then, in October, did Candice get a tag match with Nia Jax because she filled in when Tiffany Stratton was out sick. So I guess Candice found her opening, but it cost her tag partner her job, as after one more loss with Indi, well, unfortunately that was the end of her. So Candice became a loyal subject under Nia's kingdom, and so she's been used to keep protecting her queen. However, she keeps losing and has now lost 6 straight matches since that initial victory. So have we learned anything at all here from Candice? Well, I think the only thing we can say is maybe this was not the best move for Candice, as it seems like this particular attitude is not her natural state. And I guess since she and Johnny are married, it's safe to say that Johnny also does not have this new attitude as his natural state either. So if what Candice did proved to be true for Johnny, maybe DIY might have some short-term success, but it might not work out for them well in the end. But there are some silver linings here, because surely over all of these many months of Candice acting the way that she has been acting, I guess it finally rubbed off on Johnny, and now they can finally go back to having a nice, healthy marriage where they're both on the same page, instead of Candice probably saying over and over to her husband to listen to Tommaso Ciampa and follow him instead, so that you do whatever it takes to get a win. So now that Johnny has seemingly changed, I guess Candice and Johnny can just be happily back in love. And also being happily back in love, well, Johnny and Tommaso can also now be on the same page again, and they can go back to working together in perfect harmony as they did many years ago when they first won the Tag Team Championships in NXT. However, at that time, they were not showing this kind of attitude, and in fact, it was Ciampa who then later turned on Johnny, and those two had a very bitter rivalry in NXT. So I don't know, maybe that's not gonna work out well for them there either. And then come to think of it, they did win the WWE Tag Team Championships for the first time this summer, and they didn't show this kind of attitude then either. Now, admittedly, that was a pretty short reign as the Bloodline decided to take them out pretty quickly and take those titles for themselves. But, you know, no one could really stop Jacob Fatu, and, you know, it's hard to blame them for losing to him. So in both of their prior tag team title reigns, they were not exhibiting this kind of attitude. So let's look at their record overall in tag team matches. So in just traditional tags, they have a pretty good record over 500 at 8, 6, and 1. Now when you then include the multi-team tag team matches, they are still pretty good at 11, 8, and 1. And in fact, those 11 tag team wins are the most of any tag team on the men's roster. Now, of course, on SmackDown, Jade and Bianca are there, and they are leading with 14 total tag team wins. But still, number one amongst the men. Pretty good. However, when they do it with someone else, they have lost all 3 of those matches, which makes them 11, 11, and 1 overall for the year. So what do we say there then? I guess they were doing pretty well the way they were going, and they even had a tag team championship just a few months ago. So was there any real need to change? There are only so many contenders here in the SmackDown tag team division. I have to think it would have been pretty reasonable to wait for the Street Profits and the Motor City Machine Guns to fight it out one more time. And then with just maybe one more win against somebody, they could have propelled themselves right back into the number 1 contender spot yet again, since they seem to be right there all the time and are the most interested in winning those tag team championships. So when we add it all up, things didn't work out very well for Candice inside the ring, and even worse for her partner Indi. And things worked out pretty well for DIY, doing it the way they usually did it, and they even became tag team champs just a few months ago. But I guess happy wife, happy life, so Johnny and Candice on the same page, and now Johnny and Tommaso back on the same page, so I guess there's a chance this is gonna work. But in the end, I think the way DIY was doing it ultimately is going to be better than the way they're going to do it going forward. So, final conclusion here, we're giving this a not okay. And if you were not able to do it yourself and watch yesterday's OK Not OK podcast about the transfer portal, be sure to go right on over here and check that out. Because if you do, that is indeed the way, but if you don't, that is certainly not okay.